August 13th. My grandparents married on this day in 1953. Happy 71st wedding anniversary to them. Yes, they are still alive. And to you, welcome. Grab a coffee and let's get smarter together. Yesterday I talked about how the introduction of funeral rites in ancient Egypt hacked the Human World Generation Protocol, eliminated the existing natural support networks, and created new networks of obligation and debt. The question now is, how did she do it? How did she get everyone to believe she better feed the dead? You can basically already hear the "or else" resonate in the question. And yes, most likely stroking fear played an important part. In ancient Egypt, circa 3500 BC, it is quite easy to assume that the fear stroked was the fear of ghosts. Used in the same way politicians today stroke the fear of immigrants. They are coming, you better prepare, you better give us your money and believe us everything. Whatever. The best place to start to explain is with the fact that humans haven't always been in a habit of burying their dead. Yes, the earliest known hominin burial everyone agrees on happened circa 78,000 years ago in a cave in Kenya. That's in Africa for everyone who's not that familiar. But for the next 70,000 years, this treatment was the absolute exception. And most of those burials found, especially the ones with grave goods starting around 50,000 BC in the Upper Paleolithic period, involved individuals with visible abnormalities that would have made these people stand out. They were dwarfs, or giants, or hunchbacks, giving us enough room to speculate that the others, too, stood out because of mental deviations that are invisible to us today in the bones, like perhaps autism or schizophrenia. They were all well treated in life, well nourished, as a part of a care network so that they reached a good age. It was only in death that they were treated differently, heaped on with goods, like kings or princes, as if to weigh them down and make sure they stayed where they were put. The philologist and assyriologist Irvine Finkel connects the start of leaving the dead with goods with the beginning of the concept of ghosts. Because you only leave the dead surrounded with goods if three things are true for you. A. Something of them survives after death. B. This something can separate from the body and escape to go elsewhere. C. If A and B are true, it is only reasonable to assume that the thing might show up at your doorstep again. The earliest description of a ghost is thought to be embedded in an ancient Babylonian cuneiform tablet from circa 1500 BC. The text gives instructions about how to exorcise a ghost from your home. It's very helpful, I guess, and it has something to do with sunrise and beer. The oldest surviving ghost story from Greco-Roman times is called The Haunted House and was performed for the first time circa 200 BC. But the playwright informs us that his play was based on an even older one from 288 BC. And it was a real big thing, ghost stories in Greco-Roman time. The central element of Greco-Roman ghost stories was a lack of a proper burial. There is always someone who got murdered and thrown into the well or something, and who becomes a ghost, and the next inhabitant of a house will be haunted, and then the next one, and then there's someone who is probably a philosopher or something who just goes and looks for the ghost's body somewhere, and then they bury him properly and the spook is over. So, their message was clear: if you're not burying your dead correctly, the ghosts will rise and they will not be happy. You better bury your dead. This is the kind of message the Uber explorers of ancient Egypt would had to introduce and spread between the people around their tiny courts circa 3500 BC. With the concept of ghosts already long established since 50,000 BC. Along with the idea that you need to give the person you don't want to leave their grave reasons to stay there they are with goods, it would have required only a little tweaking of existing stories. As always, you take a story and you tweak it, you don't start a new one. You tell them that not just something of special people in life might survive death, but separate from their bodies, but of all people. Uber Explorer codes would be perfectly suited to insert the tweaked stories into the population, as heroic societies distinguish themselves not just through their rejection of standardization, but through their theatrics and poets engaged in elaborate techniques of oral composition. They could have stroked fear the same way their Greco-Roman counterparts did, for the same reason, by the way, a few millennia later. It costs a fortune to bury a person, probably by the rules these people are giving you. Then, as today, question your sources. Explore as an honest think. Make a habit out of thinking. Let's turn thinking into the norm again. Like, comment, share, and follow, lest you miss a single opportunity to improve yourself and society. Once you do, we are met again at the coffee pot.